Hey Raghunath, tell everyone about our Patreon community.
Sure, Kastuba. The Wisdom of the Sages Patreon community is an incredible online yoga resource. If you like the type of yoga wisdom and culture we share on the show, then our Patreon community is a great next step. This is a listener-supported podcast, and any level of sponsorship will unlock a wide range of live and archived classes, talks, and even workshops.
Raghunath teaches, I teach, and we have a host of other excellent teachers on topics ranging from yoga philosophy, asana classes, storytelling, Ayurveda, kirtan, cooking, meditation, and a lot more.
We even have an incredible online Bhakti 12-step recovery group.
So if you want to check it out, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages.
All right, let's get it on.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Soul Farm, this is Wisdom of the Sages, a daily yoga podcast with your host Raghunath and co-host and senior educator at the Bhakti Center in New York, Kastuba Das. Welcome to the show, everybody. It's Sleep-In Sunday. It's Q&A day again. It's a whole weekend of Q&A. I'm live here with about 40 people at Super Soul Farm for our Chant Camp Labor Day retreat with Dunya and Bali. And we're celebrating Christian's appearance tonight. We got a big hoedown. We're going to have another 40 people showing up for that. And we're super excited. And by strange coincidence, Kastuba, we have 4 dentists here. We don't know how we figured it out. It wasn't planned, but 4 dentists have showed up. And we're going to have a special dental workshop later on day. It's Bhakti and dentistry. Bhakti.
They brought their equipment?
They brought their equipment, their chairs, their drills, their spittoons. Rana Swami says that dentists are now transcendentalists. How are you, Prabhu?
Good, Raghunath. You ready? No, you're frozen up on us. You're freezing on us.
Everybody's got their Wi-Fi off, right? Some of you don't, and I know who you are, so you might as well turn it off now. Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, good. All right, so we got a bunch of questions today. If you're new to the show, welcome. If you're listening on Facebook, welcome. We do this every day. It's a study of the Srimad Bhagavatam, the essence of yoga philosophy, how to connect the jiva with the divine. And we do this through studying 18,000 verses of this very ancient text. On weekends, we do either interviews or Q&As. So a bunch of people are here. We're doing live questions. I mean, a lot of people from our audience is going to come up, ask the question personally, and we're going to try our best to give a good answer. Mara, do you have any announcements before we start? This is Miss Mara. She's spinning the dials today.
Yes, I do. We have Bhakti recovery group meetings at 9:30 a.m. and 7 p.m. Eastern time. And there's no show tomorrow. And then on Tuesday, we'll be back at our 6 a.m. time slot.
6 a.m. It's been a while.
Yeah. It's been a while before 6 a.m. I've been really enjoying these 8 a.m. Go back to 5. We got some real ambitious people here saying go back to 5 like the old days. You guys have lost your edge.
Okay, Raghunath. Speaking of, want to get into the questions?
Yeah, let's get into the questions. Who do we got first? Steve Amari?
Steve Amari.
All right, let's bring down Steve Amari. He's one of our regular parts of our community here. Steve Amari, come on down. Where the heck is Steve Amari?
Behind you.
Right here, Steve Amari. Put your mug right in that microphone. Steve Amari is a retired postman. We have a whole demographic of postmen as well that listen to our podcast. Are you trying to move the counter closer to you? I think you got to move the chair closer to the counter. Ooh, Steve. No, I like Steve because he is one of these guys who just wants to render service. He's got a heart of gold, and he's coming to India, right, in January? You got to talk right into the microphone or we can't hear you.
Until I get on that plane.
Yeah. Are you not a
No.
plane guy? A little scary.
Put me in a box for 14 hours.
Yeah, it's a plane, 30,000 feet in the air. What could go wrong? Okay, Stephen Murray, you got your question?
All right. That
Right on the mic.
self-realization. Prabhupada had written a book about that, or he talked about it. And where does it how does it fit with being self-realized and God realized? And
Interesting question.
I mean, I look at and was Charlie Chaplin self-realized?
Wait, is that a question? Is Charlie Chaplin self-realized?
I was just saying, is Charlie Chaplin was he self-realized? But
Who is this guy?
okay. The question, self-realization and God realization, how do they tie in together?
Okay, that's a good question.
You want to start, Raghu?
Sure. I think a big part of self-realization, at least, I found on my own spiritual journey that I start to realize that how much part of what I thought was my identity was actually my ego. I'll give you an example. You and me, we got into all this from the punk music scene. And I really sort of rebelled against my high school because I wanted to be unique. I wanted to stand out. I didn't want to be a conformist. I wanted to find my own path, etc. And in one sense, those are a lot of, they seem like a noble thing. At least they did for me at the time. And then the more I studied and applied myself to a spiritual practice, the more I realized actually my desire for distinction, my desire to be admired, my desire to be unique like that was often just a part of my ego. And a lot of times, a lot of the things that were driving me that I thought were like sort of noble things where I just want to be noticed. I just wanted to be noticed differently than others. Some people want to be noticed by dressing the same. I want to dress really cool. I want to be accepted. I wanted to dress different, act different, just to stand out in another way. It was just another flavor of ego. So for me, first, the idea of self-realization is to understand what you're not and what's driving you behind your actions, your ideas, your thoughts, your outfits, your so-called passions. Are they material passions, material ideas, etc., or are they coming from a deeper place? So the first distinction is what I am not. And really the philosophy of Bhakti Yoga is so powerful. It starts to sever these false conceptions of self. One is people get very proud of their education, their degrees, their occupation. Matter of fact, they lock into that as an identity of self. I've been going to law school for this many years, and I'm a lawyer. And I put this 3 letters at the end of my title, or I'm a doctor, or I'm an engineer, and we start to identify as the profession as ourself. And then sometimes for some reason or other, we have to give up that profession, or we get fired from that profession, or something happens, our license gets taken away. And then there's almost a feeling of loss of self. So in Bhakti, it keeps pushing that you're not the occupation. You're not the country you were born in. You're not a political affiliation. You're not flesh. So you can't identify with your flesh. Sometimes that we find, and this was big in my family, we try to find ourself by finding our roots. So I'm from an Italian family. My parents are both Italian. So, there's like this idea of going back to your real culture. And that's not your real culture either. The real culture in Bhakti is that there's a culture of spirit. And that's what we're trying to bring forth and manifest. So the part of self-realization is to cut the identity. You don't have to necessarily give it up completely, but you're not invested it as your permanent identity. Cut the self, the fake self from the genuine self. And then from there, how does that self relate to the source of self? What do you think about that, Kastuba?
Take it for deep. Tag me. And then now you go
We're
back
like
to
a
the
tag
corner.
team.
Yeah, I mean, I appreciate everything you said, there, when you approach these these ancient teachings stemming from the Vedic, scriptures, and it's vast and it's wide, and it's meant to appeal to different people on different levels and different understandings with different types of attachments, etc. So you'll get people interpreting them in different ways. What does it mean to be God realized? What does it mean to, for someone like a Bhakti yogi would say, you could even say self-realization and God realization are the same thing, because when you realize yourself, you realize the self in relation to God. My very identity is understood in relation to God. It has no meaning except in relation to God. It's kind of like saying, what is the meaning of a tennis racket? You can't understand a tennis racket without understanding tennis itself. It has no meaning.
I like that analogy.
I just came up with it just on the
Very
spot.
good. Let's keep that. Let's keep that.
Okay,
I'm going to
tennis
take it.
racket.
I'm going to use it. I'm going to work it into my routine.
All right. So just as a tennis racket's identity, it can't really be separated from the game of tennis. So this, we believe that the self's identity really can't be separated from God, because our existence, our very purpose and meaning of our existence is in relation to God and everything connected to God. But, let's, you see, if we just say self-realization, we just separate it right there. This is what all the Vedantins are into. This is what everybody wants to realize, whether you believe in as Krishna as an eternal source of all existence, or Lord Vishnu that way, or whether you believe I am that divine source. I just have lost touch with it, but there is nothing but that divine source, or that divine light. I am that light. I've lost touch with it. Whether either of these schools of thought, they're interested in self-realization, because they're both saying currently we're out of touch with the self. Currently we're identifying with the body and identifying with the mind and identifying with our current material circumstance, which is all subject to change. Currently we are living within, we're kind of locked in to the laws of this material realm in which we're operating, which are time. Time is affecting us. If I was self-realized, time wouldn't be affected. If I realize that this body is a me, then I've transcended time. If I've realized that this body is a me, I've transcended karma, right? I'm not operating in a realm where the law of karma is got me locked in. I've transcended. I've transcended the gunas. The subtle, the subtle influences of everything in this world. I've risen above that, so it's not like I'm happy one day, I'm sad the next day because of whatever outside influences. No, I've realized the self underneath. I've realized that I'm eternal. I've gotten in touch with my eternality. I've gotten in touch with my deeper inner knowledge or wisdom. I've gotten in touch with my deeper inner bliss. I'm experiencing that. That's self-realization. Both schools of thought accept that, and Krishna's calling for us to come to that level in the Bhagavad Gita all throughout it. There's that one verse, and I think maybe it's 245, Trigunya, Vishaya Veda, Nishtrigunya Bhavarjuna, rise above these three modes, that are taught in the earlier parts of the Vedas and become self-realized. He says, become Atmavan, right? Nir Yoga Kshema Atmavan, that become a knower of the self, Arjuna. Become free from all dualities. Become free from the anxieties for gain in this world, and become an Atmavan. Know the self. So how does that manifest? It manifests in becoming detached, right? Becoming even-minded, samatvam. Whether it's hot or cold, I'm in touch with myself. Whether I'm being praised and honored, or whether I'm being criticized, because I'm in touch with myself. I'm not identifying with the body, with the mind. I know this can't touch me. So samatvam, samadarshana, I see that every living being is made of the same spiritual energy, right? And antasukha, there's a happiness within me that I'm in touch with at all moments. So that's what self-realization looks like. But we would say God realization, when you get to the level of Bhagavatam, you get to the confidential knowledge, right? That all of that stuff Krishna doesn't call the confidential knowledge. That's jnana, knowledge. And then there's this, throughout the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna will say, now there's this secret knowledge. There's this more confidential knowledge, right? There's this knowledge that even all the Vedantins aren't tuning in on, not clicking with, not in touch with, right? You look excited about that.
I like it. Secret knowledge.
I was at the beach yesterday.
Of the Vedas.
I was at the beach yesterday. I saw a guy walking around with one of those metal detectors.
Did he think about me? Did you think about me?
Come on, man. I almost took a picture with him to send it.
You know how often I'm with Mara and we're on a walk and I'm seeing some like dilapidated farmhouse. I'm like, I wish I had my metal detector. Walking by graveyards, wish I had my metal.
Do you actually have a metal detector?
Do I have a metal detector? Yeah, I have a metal detector. Of course I have a metal detector. What question is that?
I've never seen a metal detector. Okay.
Oh God, are you kidding? I go into, there's all these old revolutionary.
Okay, hold it. We're squirreling off. We're just going too far, right? Too far.
Revolutionary warfields near me.
Okay.
Yeah.
On a musket. Okay.
Love to find a musket.
Yeah, confidential knowledge, right? This means that Bhagavatam is going to say that God can be realized on three levels: Brahman, Paramatma, and Bhagavan, right? That a normal, I don't know, I don't want to speak down to it, but like if you had the Venn diagram, all transcendentalists are trying to understand Brahman, trying to understand the spiritual energy, that I am made of that spiritual energy, that's called self-realization. But within that larger circle, to be a smaller circle of people that understand Paramatma, that Lord Vishnu is within the heart of every living being and is unique, right? Is unique. Like his consciousness is penetrating everything. My consciousness is limited. His consciousness is unlimited, right? I'm aware of the sensations within my own body. Paramatma is aware of sensations in every body. So that's right. another level of God realization. But what Bhagavatam is presenting is that, and what Vyasadeva is presenting through Bhagavatam, is that the complete God realization is when you understand Bhagavan, when you understand that there is a person behind everything, right? And I was thinking today, I went out to the park early in the morning. I was watching the sunrise.
Oh, Kastuba.
It was one of those mornings where like it was, just the way the clouds were and the sun was, it was like super incredibly.
I wish I had a picture
glorious.
Of you doing that, just looking around.
Looking around. It was like a glorious
morning. Yeah.
Yeah. It's you want to come up with the right word for when you get that kind of sky, but it's like glorious, And I was thinking, like many scientists, like atheistic scientists, they want to rob all the gratitude out of life. Like you might feel gratitude towards another person, but what about gratitude for everything else? Like if there's no person behind it, there's no sense of gratitude. What that sucks out of your life, but our understanding is that yes, this is just a spark of that person's splendor, right? This glorious vision. Who is that person behind it? How do I get to know them? Bhagavatam is going to say, you know what? We're not going to just tell you it's the creator. We're not just going to tell you it's the maintainer. We're not just going to tell you that the person has the power to judge, omniscience, all of that.
Yeah.
But what we're saying is that everything that you desire in your heart, it's not that it all has to be eliminated. It's part of you. It's just become skewed. It's become warped. That desire for love, that desire for intimacy, all of that is real. You don't have to annihilate that. You can realize it in its perfected form through Bhagavan, through that divine person who you can love in many different varieties of ways. So that is what we would call God, the complete God realization, right? And we cultivate that through this practice. Our faith is that all of that can be revealed through hearing Bhagavatam and through the names of Krishna, through kirtan especially, right? These can and will reveal that complete God realization to us.
Your tongue's powerful. He looks very satisfied. Are you satisfied with that answer?
Yeah.
Very good.
All
So,
right.
Stu, before we go on, I have a Vedic question. Thank you, Steve Amari. All right, Bo.
Thank you, Steve.
Before we move forwards, I have a Vedic question for you. It's sort of about treasure hunting. Do you think? Do you think treasure hunting, using a metal detector, etc., is there a difference between treasure hunting and grave digging? Is there a difference between?
There's
those
a
two things?
vast, yes.
There's a vast difference.
Very
Because the
different.
body's dead, right? The body's dead. Sometimes the body is wearing various jewels.
Yeah, they're in there.
Like
They
we don't
used to-
accept the body as the person. What's the
So,
difference?
yeah, but other people get really offended.
I'm saying
by that.
other. I'm saying
It's a
they're an
sensitivity
illusion.
to. It's a
So
sensitivity
if my
to.
thing goes off and it makes a that sound above a grave,
Raghunath's like,
Did
I
I
found that
not
within
dig?
the graveyards, this thing is really going off. It's funny how it works like that, especially right in front of the gravestone.
right above the gravestone, it always goes off. Okay,
That's why
let's-
people used to rob graves for the jewelry.
Yeah, not only that, they break into the pharaoh's tombs and
Yeah.
all those things.
But you know what they discovered that way, Raghunath? And it's
Ghosts?
dark, it's gory. No, that they used to not realize that people were still alive when they were burying them sometimes, before they had their more
Not
advanced
after
medical.
102. I'm talking about a 1600-year-old from the 1600s. No one's alive.
No. I'm saying that what I'm saying is grave robbers would find evidence that the people had been buried alive.
Oh yeah, there's like scratch marks at the.
Yeah,
You know why? Because they didn't officially know when people died.
that's what I'm saying.
Yeah, it's horrible.
Okay.
Thank
let's
you.
move on
Happy
to-
happy Sunday. I love when
found that-
Kastuba takes it there.
I found that in in this book. It was what was it called? Like
Ripley's Believe It or
Freaks
Not.
of Nature and something
You follow
else.
Freaks of Nature, so do I.
I wasn't following. It was a book.
Oh, okay. All right.
Anyway, let us move on to the next
Thank you.
question.
Okay, it's House of Pain time.
House of Pain. I just got a chance to meet House of Pain just before the show.
Yeah, we call her Brittany Payne. We call her House of Pain. I almost forgot your real name. I just call you House of Pain all the time. You got to speak right into the microphone.
Okay.
I really like Brittany Payne. She's very, very sincere. She came to India on pilgrimage last year. That was really fun. How was your trip?
It was amazing, life-changing.
Oh,
Life-changing.
Highly recommend that experience.
all
That's
right.
the thing. Life changing is really it. It sounds like hype.
It sounds like hype, right? Oh yeah, it was life changing. I saw the I
Yeah.
watched the Islanders play hockey. It was life changing. Oh. That was not life changing. India's like life changing. People
It
can't stop
actually, when
about
you
it.
go on Raghunath's trip or you come to our trainings at the Eco Village or come to Mayapur with us, it actually does change your life. And Raghunath and I experienced it when people brought us to India and showed it to us in the right way. It changed our lives for real,
Yeah.
not
changed our life.
just a cliche. Yeah.
So
Thank
she's got a question. You want to?
Do you
You
have
want
it
to say
pulled
anything?
up?
You want to tell your story a little bit? Like where are you from?
Brittany
What are you
Payne's
doing?
from Jersey. From Jersey.
No, I'm actually from Virginia. I live in
Oh, from
Virginia with
Virginia.
my husband, Rick, and our 2 boys.
All right.
Okay.
Rick is on the show today. Shout
Nice.
out, and I love you. I met Raghu when he came and did a weekend for my yoga teacher training, and
In Florida.
in Florida, which is where I'm originally from. And he threw his Krishna hooks out and snagged
Okay,
me, and I've sort
I
of
get
been there
your
ever
f-
since.
Your family from down in Florida was originally from New Jersey. Could I be right about that? I'm drawing some Jersey connection.
does have a
somehow.
There's,
Jersey
there's
thing in her.
absolutely no Jersey in me.
You sure?
Okay.
All right.
No offense to Jersey people.
No, I like Jersey people.
We like
That's what I
Jersey
thought.
people.
Okay.
It's a special
It's a
group.
connection. Okay.
But anyway, yeah. So I went down there, put my Krishna hooks in you. Great.
Here we are.
And here we are sitting in Super Soul Farm. So how long you been listening to the podcast for?
Since then, so that was about 2019, I think.
We didn't even have a podcast.
Started in 2020.
2019.
What,
Well, we had Super Soul Sacred Sangha. Did you listen to that?
Nope, it was Wisdom of the Sages. So it must have been
2020.
after the pandemic
Yeah.
started.
Yeah,
It was
2020.
shortly after I met you, but it was Wisdom of the Sages. And I was an other for a very long time, really up until India.
And then, like I said, my life started to change. This started to become more important to me, and my sadhana started to develop, and now I get to come on live with you guys quite often, and I'm very grateful to be a part of this community.
We're grateful
Great.
to you, Brittany.
Very grateful to the both of you. My life has improved in many ways, so thank you.
In what ways? That's okay.
We got to get to the question.
Vulnerable.
Yeah.
Okay. Well, when I started this practice, I was drowning myself in alcohol, heavily depressed,
Oh.
and really struggling with my existence as a human. And I'm
Very
now
common.
sober and
Good.
living my best life. So
I'm happy to hear that.
thank you. Thank you.
It's a real, right? It's a real thing. People struggle with covering up emotions with addictive substances. And it's beautiful when a person can get above that because they're highly addictive.
And I've been trying for years, and it wasn't really until I started to just surrender and give my life to Krishna that the desire to change became stronger than my desire to use. And slowly but surely, that experience was no longer enjoyable for me in any way, shape, or form. So
Beautiful.
Warms my heart to hear that. Thank
See
you.
that vulnerability lifted all our spirits. There's a power there. Thank you.
you're welcome. Thank you. I'm so nervous. I'm like shaking, and I
You're
feel
doing great.
like
You're
I'm
doing
gonna.
great.
Just don't throw up. Yes.
You have my question. We wrote it down.
Oh yeah.
Did you pull it up?
Where's that question?
Pull it up, Raghunath.
Okay, here, just read it from my phone.
Okay.
Sorry.
Okay. All right, I'm just gonna get right to it because this is something that is I've written and rewritten, and I really take a serious and loving approach to, because the last thing I ever want to do is turn anyone off to such an amazing and beautiful practice. So here it goes. My mom sends negative articles about Krishna consciousness. I trust you too, but when I hear about scandals or abuse, it breaks my faith and hope. Krishna consciousness has helped me so much. How do you two move forward in bhakti if you feel there are corruptions and scandals? How did the two of you relate to that?
Great question.
All right.
Great question.
You sure your mother's not from Jersey?
Detroit. But
Okay, Detroit.
Her mom sends her scandalous articles about
Yeah.
Krishnas, especially. She told me one before the show. She said one was like, they're gonna steal your babies.
yeah, watch out. They don't send your children away.
Send your children to Super Soul Farm.
Okay, let's
They
get
want
into this.
Babies here.
They
let's
want your
get-
money.
You want your money.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
It was
Okay.
Okay.
Let me get started on this.
Yeah. Why
one.
don't you get going on this?
You know, I think there was a history in the Krishna consciousness movement, right? In the Hare Krishna movement, where most of that kind of stuff was just total BS. It's like, it's not that it wasn't because people wanted your money, and it wasn't a cult, and it wasn't some dangerous, you know, and so many things they're saying were just like complete BS. And you know, it all got brought to the level of the courts and everything like that. And you know, they brought out the different scholars, and they said, this is an ancient tradition. This is authentic, and the way they're practicing it is authentic. And the things that they're doing are just the same things that everyone in the Christian religion would do, or you know, you see the parallels, and you know, it kind of broke it all down, and that stuff kind of started to fade away. But what did rise up were a lot of the failings in the Krishna consciousness movement. And by far, I think the most concerning were what happened in the schools with the children in the boarding schools. That there was not just abuse, there was rampant child abuse. It was there wasn't proper support, there wasn't proper understanding of the danger of this, and it took hold, and it was a real scandal, for real. And it's and so much pain has, you know, been endured because of that, and many steps were taken to remedy that, and a lot of good has been done with that, and still more good needs to be done with that. Right? It's something that requires constant vigilance and so on, and so that's real. You know, and I'd say there are other things that you could say are scandalous. Maybe maybe especially things about like how women were treated. I think that there was, certainly problems with that, have been problems with that. There may still be problems with that in certain corners and so on. These things are real. But I think a lot of the sensationalist kind of stuff, like this is a cult and that stuff, that's you just haven't really understood it. Now, saying that, and I should say, a lot of the original, after the passing away of Srila Prabhupada, a lot of the original leaders had their scandals, whether they're like sex scandals or different types of fall downs. That stuff's real too. Yeah, that's going to happen.
Now I'm depressed.
Yeah. But
I'm out of here.
Tell Mom we're coming. We're coming home.
Mom,
your
you
mom.
were right.
You were right again, Mom.
So those things are there, but let's zoom out a little bit and try to understand that what we're saying here is that, yeah, we're living in a big, messy material world, and anytime you try to create an institution that's going to help people transcend it, there's going to be failings in it. You build up people's expectations and you don't always meet them. But that being said, here's a key point. A key point for you. I don't know if your mother would understand it, but maybe. But what we're trying to do here, we're not, the purpose of, say, the Hare Krishna movement is not that we develop love for the Hare Krishna movement. That's not what this is about. That's not what we're trying to do. We're trying to develop love for God, and through God, love for every living being. We recognize that any institution that's going to try to do that is going to have its weaknesses and its failings. That it's not the institution that we're meant to love, right? So let's see where this. If we can find a better institution that helps us love God more, I'm totally open to that. If this institution has helped people, and it can help me, well, then let's appreciate that and let's gain from that. Let's tap into that, and let's find if there's anything scandalous, let's try to improve it, or let's try to avoid it, right? That's how Raghunath and I have kind of conducted our connection to all of this, that we've gained so much through it, through the teachings, through the people. What they've shown us, what they've taught us, what they've exposed us to has been tremendously valuable in our lives, in our becoming better people, in our helping our loved ones become better people. It's valuable. It's real. Have we encountered quote unquote scandalous stuff? Definitely. How have we responded to it? We tried to show a better alternative to it. We've tried to recognize where it was just human weakness. That's going to be there, or where was actually like real problematic thinking or actions. Maybe we need to speak out against those. Maybe we need to steer around those, but let's not lose. What we're talking about here is we're not talking about blind allegiance to some institution. We're talking about trying to gain some real knowledge and understanding from an institution and apply it in our lives. There's some really great people to meet. There's some really good teachings to learn. There's some really great places to visit that are improving my life. Let me take that out of it. I'm not swearing some oath of loyalty to some figure that's going to manipulate me or anything like that. And I'm not even going to hang out with, and there may even be people that think a little bit more like that. I'm not too interested in associating too closely with them. It's a big, wide institution. It's got fanatics, definitely, but it's got other the deepest thinkers I've ever met in my life. So let's seek out. You can tell your mother, Mom, I get your concern. Some of the stuff you're sending me is total BS, and it's people that aren't in touch with it and don't really know it all. But some of the stuff is true. Some of the true stuff has been addressed, and is trying to be addressed better, but that's going to be there in any institution. That's, if I became a Catholic, it would be there, right? If I became whatever, it would be there. Even non-religious institutions who are going to have their scandals, should I turn my back on America? There's been a scandal, I could point to all the scandals with America. Right?
You just draw a circle around any group of people.
Yeah, right.
And there's one guy who's a nutcase, and there's one guy who's really deep and sincere. It's just part of the human experience. And Can I jump
You
in on this a little
know,
bit?
let me just finish up on this.
Finish up.
You know, what about this university? Let me talk about all the scandals that happened at that university. Should I not go to the university? Let me, you know, so it's like no,
I like
I'm going
that
to
one.
go
I'm
to the
gonna keep that one,
university.
too.
I'm going to go to the university. I'm going to learn what I can learn. I'm going to connect with the best teachers there. I'm going to try to avoid the ones that I don't appreciate. I'm going to get the most out of that university. And I'm doing the same thing with my practice of Krishna Bhakti. I'm like that. I think
Good
if you
answer.
speak that way, your mother will be, okay, she hasn't given her independent thinking away. You know, she's still a critical thinker.
Yeah. Haven't thrown discernment out.
That's right.
Yeah, we never throw discernment out.
Never do that.
Never throw discernment out.
Never do
you know?
that.
You know, me and Kostuba, in one sense, we haven't lived in a temple in years. You know what I mean? I live at my house. You know what I mean? I have a property. I invite people to my property. I'm the teacher here. There's always going to be people that I even somewhat like respect, but I don't jive with also. And I just keep them at a distance, a respectful distance. And then there's people, it's not like you're marrying thousands and thousands of people in a particular institution. You have a few teachers in your life. You have a few good friends in your life, and you have a few people that are asking you questions in your life. We're not going to know everybody. There's lots of swamis and lots of evolved people, and some of them I don't even get along with, but there's some I really do, and I keep them close. Another thing I was thinking was into the concept of an institution also. It's sort of like there's so many ways for it to go wrong. First, there's the dogma, then there's the politics, and then it's just one thing after another. But I can say when me and Kostuba got we first met devotees in New York, it was probably a lowest time historically.
Yeah,
it was just like everything was falling apart. It went from so many people living in ashram to like everybody left living in the ashram. You know, there were scandals here and there, but in that
Rolling Stone article had just come out.
Yes, it's like in that destitute position, there was some lone brahmachari who gave me a book on 14th Street. And because of that,
who was that?
It's my life. In the lowest position of that institution, there was still one monk there that went on the street and gave me a book on the Bhagavad Gita. And that Bhagavad Gita changed the entire trajectory of my life that I'm incredibly in debt to. So in one sense, there's so many issues with the institution, but without it, God knows where I would be right now. There is also a great, great blessing of an institution. And so we have to be intelligent enough to discern like what is a bunch of nonsense and what is very, very valuable. And I try to surround yourself with valuable people. But here's the interesting thing. Suppose I go to India and I meet some great enlightened being. And I was like, this is incredible. I love this stuff. And I come back to my small town, right? And all of a sudden, Brittany happens to go to India and meet some enlightened being. And she happens to be in the same town. I said, did you meet that enlightened being? Did you meet Swamiji? And then she's like, I too.
I met Swamiji.
Yeah, so Swamiji taught me this practice of meditation. He taught me it too. All right, well, let's meet in the morning and we'll do our meditation together. And we're like, yeah, and we do together because it's more fun to do things together than alone. And all of a sudden, a third person also meets
It's
Swamiji.
an institution right there.
Once you get a third person in there, then we just start to decide as friends. We're all good friends. We decide, you know what? Maybe every Saturday or every Sunday or every Friday night, we have a get together. We invite people who are struggling with addiction or struggling with overwhelm or struggling with heartbreak or loss or death of a loved one. And let's have a little get together and make it like a potluck. And Swamiji taught us that we should prepare our food with love and devotion. And now we have a big community every Friday night. All of a sudden, you got yourself an organized religion on your hands. And that's the problem. When people come together, you have a community. And
before long, you have a sex scandal.
Then there's a scandal. And Raghunath does something stupid, and everybody hates Raghunath, whatever it be. So there's always a problem when people come together, and there's always some beautiful blessing when people come together too. And I'm glad you're receiving those blessings. And here's a message for you. Don't do anything scandalous. And avoid all scandalous people. How about that?
Prabhu, that was
Did that help?
amazing.
Did that help?
Really helped. And I hope it also helped some other people to kind of just make sense of it all.
I was that same person. I wanted to know every little detail of every scandal because I'm like a really untrusting person at heart. And so by hearing this out, I realized, truthfully, It's a bunch of humans there, and the humans screw up all the time, and it's pathetic and it's sad. And then I'm thinking of my life, and I was like, well, I've done some scandals in my life too. And so we try to and we meet those out. And then there's like certain people you don't just want to be around. There's certain people get kicked out of things. And I will say though, and Kostuba was like, it's not a cult. It's not a cult. I feel like it was a complete cult. In the old days, it was a total cult because you're dealing with these guys who are
No, just hold it.
Wait, you talk.
If you want to say that,
I want to talk.
No. I'm not letting. If you want to say that it certainly had some cultish dynamics. That's one that you just said it was a complete cult. No, it's not. It's a genuine spiritual tradition. That's grounded in centuries.
Early Christians, early Mormons, they were all complete cults too.
What you mean?
They isolated themselves. They
just be careful about like how what you're trying to convey.
I'm not telling them to drink Kool-Aid and die, but I'm just saying.
Well, that's what it sounds like when you say that.
With their own leaders, their own conception of God. Don't talk to outsiders. It was totally like that.
Well, but our conception of God is very broad. It's been for the millions of people accept it.
All right. Let me just have my little 2 cents here.
All right. Just tempering that a little bit.
You got to understand what was going on in the 60s. It was unprecedented in American history. People are walking away from their homes. Children are running away from home, getting into heroin, LSD, having orgies. It was like a crazy time in the history of the world. They're going to Haight-Ashbury, camping out in the park. And then all of a sudden, they meet a Swami and they become an Orthodox Hindu. And that's weird. And they shave off their heads, or they wear saris. And you got to understand, it's before the internet. So in America, we've never even seen what a Hindu monk looks like. There's no internet. There's no idea. It's random. It's weird. You got to go to the library and go to the what's it called? The bibliography or the catalog, the card catalog, and look up Swami or something.
The Dewey Decimal System.
And you got to figure out, well, what are these guys into? And it's very confusing. There was no books on Hinduism practically, or it was very, very random, written by academics. It was
there were definitely books on Hinduism in the 60s.
There was a few books on it, but they're all vague. There was still a lot of
they weren't so popular.
They weren't popular. You could randomly study it in university, So my point is, and now everybody's following strict principles, and you can't watch TV anymore. And it seems everybody has to live in the ashram, or else you're in Maya.
There are cultic dynamics for sure.
No, hardly anybody in America lives in an ashram. Most of it is a community with families, with professions like dentists everywhere. Yeah. Everywhere. And so I think Krishna consciousness 2.0 is
once you've got
I feel like there's an essence there. But this stuff,
as I say, once you've got dentists, it's not a cult anymore. It's like a community.
What did you say?
Once you have dentists, it's not a cult anymore. It's a community.
It's no longer a cult. Yeah. That's a good point.
Okay. Seemed like what you're.
All right.
That was your argument.
We could go on with this forever. Let's try to sneak one more question in. Thank you, House of Pain. Great to see you.
Thank you.
I think Maya is next, Ragana. Oh, there Maya just walked by.
Yeah. Cult, not a cult. Cult, not a cult. Okay, we got Maya here. Hey, Maya, come on down.
Where's she going? Okay, she's running back and forth. There she goes. Whoa. Here she comes.
Maya. Haribo, please welcome Maya, everybody. Haribo. Now, Maya, if I, can you hear me?
Yes.
Let's do it.
Yes.
Okay. Now, Maya, if I understand, found out about all this stuff. Who did a post on Instagram for our Kirtan Academy?
For the 300 hour.
Oh, for the 300 hour. Okay.
Yeah, just this past January.
Just January. She came and she ended up like falling in love with the culture of Bhakti. She's an incredible singer.
She's a cult member.
And she's a card carrying.
Shaved her head.
She did shave off all her hair. I didn't tell her to.
You invited anyone who wanted to. Katie Wyckoff and I were like, "Are you doing it? I'm doing it."
Did I invite you to shave
That's your subtle seduction, Raghunath.
So I invited myself.
I think I was joking.
His face when we were, Katie and I were like, actually, yeah, we're going with you. It was
Without hair.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was a great moment. The barber was like, "Are you sure?" and asked us like 4 times, took
Do it.
pictures of us.
You're like, we're Americans. We,
Yeah.
we go. Oh, because I just got my head shaved.
We all went together.
Yeah, that's
it
right.
was
That's
Lenny
right.
And
Yeah, that was
a bunch of
fun.
people, yeah.
Okay. So anyway, then Maya's like, she's just like, she's from San Francisco. She's a wonderful lady. And she's a big part of our community. She just moved to the East Coast.
Albany area.
Yeah, she's a school teacher.
Near the cult
the
compound.
Albany
The
area.
Super Soul compound.
The Super Soul Cult Compound. We're changing the name. Super Soul Cult Compound.
Okay.
And she's got some good questions.
Yeah. So
What time? Okay, we're good. We're good.
sweet. I'll make it fast. Thank you so much. So yeah, I've only been really trying to do my best to be a good devotee since January, but I was re-listening to the podcast from the beginning. And in the first episode, you say, Raghunath, I've always been in debt, and therefore I've been given, and therefore I'm in debt. I'm a debtor. So my question is, as someone who has a really long background of anxiety and negative self loops and kind of, I don't want to say self-harming thoughts, but it has been that in the past, but just negative anxiety, things like that. How do we keep the paradigm of service and keeping in that mood of I'm a debtor and having that gratitude without falling into the pit of thoughts of lack of self-worth and shame?
Good question, Matt. Good question, Miss Maya. Should I do that because I said it, or do you want to try it?
No, go ahead.
We have, debtor is sort of the negative side of it. You could spin it like I have a great appreciation. I have a great appreciation. Why? Because I've been given so much. That's a great mindset to have. I've been given so much, from everything. We're not a what's that word? A self-made man. That's nonsense. We have been given love. We've been given information. We've been given good ideas. We've been nurtured. We've been cared for. And you could really focus on that, or you could focus on how you've been neglected, have been overlooked, who hurt you. There's different mindsets to have. In Bhakti, we feel like I've been given so much. And because of that, the natural inclination, part 2 of that is I'd like to give back. I'd like to give back for what I have. And it creates a life of wanting to give instead of a life of wanting to take. And that has nothing to do with who you are as a valid person. Doesn't mean you're less than. It doesn't mean you're horrible. It doesn't mean you're unworthy. You're completely worthy. Your worth is from your birth. Your worth
also,
is that you're a spiritual being. You're part of God.
All that you've been given is part of your worth, right? Like, in other words, if you're a debtor because you've been given so much, well, I have so much now. And so that's also part of your worth, right?
Yeah. And so I think that's an important thing to do. And I think it's a part of a child's maturity into adulthood, is to think like, I've been so fortunate and people have taken care of me and people have nurtured me. And if you grow up with this entitlement, which is very common to have, like, people owe me, I've done so much, why doesn't people care about me? No one loves me. There's nothing more sad than hearing someone, no one loves me. No one loves me. How come people don't love me? Start loving other people. Start loving other people. And you'll be surprised how many people start to love you. But people have loved you, have cared about you. And it's just like a little attitude adjustment. You do have worth. You do have your worth is that you're a spiritual being. You're part of God. That's your worth. And when you do worthy activities, you'll feel that worth. If you abuse your body, right? Eat horribly, take intoxicants, criticize people, speak ill thoughts about other people, or have ill thoughts about other people. If you're living in an unworthy way, you won't have self-worth. If you do worthy things, you start to feel worthy. Kostub, you want to comment?
No, I think you really hit it nice there, Raghunath, is that,
I did? You like me?
I did.
Say it.
I just did.
Say
you
you
want
like
to say it
it.
again? Oh, no,
I
I'm
want
not
you to say
saying
I
that.
like you.
Now you're ruining it. You are a child. I think my parents used to say that to me. Now you're ruining this. But no, I like that idea that without gratitude, there's no happiness in life, really. You know, it's ingratitude is a feeling of misery and dissonance and everything like that. Gratitude is a feeling of harmony and connection and happiness. And so, yeah, that when we say debtor, it means, yeah, I've been given so much. I'm grateful. And I love the way that Raghunath put it. Then you want to give, you know, just, and that becomes glorious. Like that's not a disempowered person. That's the empowered, even like, say, like when we glorify, like someone say giving their life for their country, right? It's because I'm grateful for what the country represents and what the country's given me. I feel so grateful. I'm willing to give my life for that. You know, in the same way, whatever we've been given in life, there's a feeling of gratitude and a feeling of therefore I wish to sacrifice, right? Therefore, and it's when we sacrifice that life becomes meaningful and dynamic and rich, and you receive more through sacrifice, you know? So, yeah.
Stuba on patriotism.
Patriotism is kind of like
I understand.
Yeah, it's
joking.
I understand that you're joking, Raghunath. I understand that you understand. but then life becomes dynamic when that feeling of gratitude and a feeling of wanting to give back. That's the real that's the bhakti dynamic, and that's when life is exciting. And that help?
Can
You had a second.
Yeah. Not to play devil's
Sure.
advocate, but
Oh yeah.
if you're someone who feels like you're sacrificing a lot but you're not feeling that return, do you have anything to say about that?
I mean, it depends on the circumstance. Like sometimes a parent just gives and gives and gives, and the child doesn't reciprocate. But it's your duty to give. You know, even it's not. In one sense, there is glory on giving, even when giving is not appreciated. But there are also unhealthy dynamics of ways that could manifest too, and those need to be recognized and understood and addressed. You know.
Thank you.
Thank you, Maya. Thank you for being you. Thanks for being you.
She had a
Appreciate
second question, but maybe we don't have time for it.
Okay, where's Mara? Okay, I don't think we have time for it. I'm sorry. Love having you, Maya.
Thank you, Maya. Where's Mara? This is where Mara comes back on the show.
Oh, I love Maya. I've said that before.
Yeah. You're incomplete, Maya.
I'm totally immersed in Maya. Anyway, Kostuba.
I can't hear the music, man. Is music going?
I know. We're moving slow here.
Want me to do it?
We gotta really pay for YouTube Premium, I think.
Get the premium.
Okay, you can pay for it. It's expensive.
I used to do the music for years, and I paid for it, Bubba, and I didn't ask you for a dime.
You didn't? Okay.
So why don't you pay me for all those years, and then I'll think about paying you.
Is it a tax write-off? No. Hey, everybody. Thanks for joining us live. There's no show tomorrow. We're back at 6 a.m. on Tuesday.
6 a.m.
6 a.m. Hey, guess what? It's Lord Krishna's appearance. Big holiday, big holy day. We're excited to glorify and remember Lord Krishna. If you like the podcast, like what we're doing, share with a friend, follow us, and most of all, tell people who you feel like, hey, you know what? I have a friend sitting on edge. I think this would be a good thing for them. It's a great thing for me, and I appreciate it. If you are a regular listener, you like what we're doing, go to patreon.com/wisdom of the sages, make a donation, because we just use anything that you send. We use to keep this going and spread it wider and wider, and we have a whole team of people scheming how to give this to more people, how to make this podcast popular for the benefit of people.
And how to help you too, like how to help the audience that's already there. We want to give more.
How to help
because we feel
you
grateful
too, Mr. Kostuba.
And
okay,
you.
live. Say a big hello. Say a big hello. Here's the peeps.
Sita Devi.
Yeah, there's Sita Devi, transcendentalist.